Hey everybody, ronarray here, and my Great Wave Monk build was tremendously buffed. How? Well, I'm going to explain it right now. So as you already know, Electrocute being changed in the last patch. It's 25% harder to build up, which is expected, but right now the gem has no damage penalty, and that's a huge change for the build. Long story short, right now with all the changes, we can electrocute enemies without any issues. So look at the boss fight right now. As you can see, one hit from me electrocuting boss almost immediately. That's tier 15 boss with 2 levels of difficulty on top, and it's electrocuted at the same time when the fight starts. But on top of it, we are also shocking the boss. You can see the shock on the screen right now. So we can both electrocute easily, including bosses, and we can also shock them at the same time. Right now, I'm going to explain how it's working, what I changed in the build, and why right now we're tremendously stronger. But the general idea that right now we can literally electrocute everything on the screen immediately and just stun all the monsters that we are hitting. And we can also shock bosses too and shock any enemies at the same time. Let's go! So now let's talk about the changes that allowed all of us to reach that point. Currently for the Stormwave, we are using Martial Tempo, Primal Armament, Lightning Infusion and Upheaval. And right now, as a last support, we can use Electrocute instead, because it's not really ruining our damage anymore. That way, our supported skills cannot inflict shock, and lightning damage from supported skills contributes to electrocution build-up. Since Stormwave is doing huge lightning damage, as you can see, it's going to electrocute enemies consistently. But how to fix shock? That's a big question. And we're going to shock with charge staff instead, since we always have charge staff up because we're constantly electrocuting enemies. And when we are electrocuting enemies, Combat Frenzy right here provides frenzy charges for us. And right now it's working even better than before, so the skill got buffed. We are receiving a charge every 2 seconds, which is just amazing. Please remember that for all that to work you will need to use Resonance, because Resonance is going to move your frenzy charges to endurance and power charges to frenzy. So you will gain power charges instead of frenzy charges. Moving forward, since we are using Electrocute at the Stormwave, we will always have charge staff up, and charge staff together with conduction is going to shock enemies. So Stormwave is electrocuting enemies with every hit, just stunning them completely, as you already seen it. And charge staff, on the other hand, is going to help us with shocking. I think adding conduction here helps a lot, and concentrated effect helps with damage. I'm still running persistence for charge staff, and the last gem could be different based on what we currently want to see. But I feel like even with 3 options here, we are still shocking pretty consistently, after maybe 1 or 2 hits. So that way we will always have Electrocute, and we will always have shock up, and we always will have bonuses from charge staff too, so additional damage from power charges. I think it's working just perfectly right now. However, for all of that to work, we also needed to change the tree at least a little. The big question, are we keeping the Herald of Thunder? Since we're not shocking that consistently, Herald of Thunder could be a big question. However, I still think that using Herald of Thunder is mandatory, for a few reasons. It's not going to proc that often, but it costs only 30 spirit, so that's not a lot. And we can use it mostly to get bonuses for Coming Calamity, because Coming Calamity can provide 50% increased lightning damage while affected by Herald of Thunder, and I think just that bonus itself is perfectly worth it. We're also receiving additional damage by Herald damage nodes here, and both of them are working just perfectly for it. So right now I think that's the main reason why we are using Herald at all. It can still going to help with clear, at least a little, because it's going to proc occasionally here and there. But mostly we are using it just for the buff, even if it's not going to proc that often. We are still shocking enemies with charge stuff. But keep in mind that to properly shock an enemy, we will need to hit it at least a few times, because charge stuff is not doing that much damage. We're going to constantly electrocute, but shock will require at least a few hits, so the shockwave from charge stuff can shock the enemy. And that will lead to a Herald of Thunder proccing less, but don't worry about it. If you feel like you don't really want to play Calamity yourself, you can literally replace Herald of Thunder in the build and pick any other aura. But genuinely, I don't think it's a big issue. I'm also using Neural Overload right now with Herald of Thunder, because I think Neural Overload helps us with even more electrocution. And it surprisingly worked together with Elemental Focus. Because maybe it's bugged right now, but Electrocution still works together with Elemental Focus. Maybe because Electrocution is not considered an elemental element, even if it's in the list. And Inevitable Critical at Herald of Thunder helps to proc it a little more often. So currently our setup stays the same. For the Wind Dancer we're running Clarity, Vitality and Blind, because Blind can help us with the Wind Dancer big hit and it can help to evade more attacks. Herald of Thunder runs with Elemental Focus, Inevitable Critical and Neural Overload. For charge stuff I'm running Persistence, Concentrated Effect and Conduction. And for Storm Wave I'm running Martial Tempo, Primal Armament, Lightning Infusion, Upheaval and Electrocute. If you will need to lose one gem, so if you just don't have all the gems but you still want to use Electrocute right here, it's very important to drop something, and dropping Lightning Infusion is usually the way, so you can drop Primal Armament or Lightning Infusion based on your damage. So for me exactly, dropping Primal Armament is a better idea, but for you it could be a little different based on your items. I'm still running Blasphemy together with Temporal Chains, Ritualistic Curse and Expanse. Please keep in mind that Blasphemy should have quality on it, because it will reduce the reservation that it's having. And Combat Frenzy is mandatory, so just a reminder that for charges you need to Electrocute, you need Combat Frenzy and you need Resonance Passive. Make sure that you have all of them. I'm also running Ghost Dance together with Fast Forward and Cannibalism, just to regenerate some life, and Energy Shield too. And I have an Orb of Storms in my setup. However, I don't really feel like it's mandatory right now and I'm barely using it. So if you don't have the slot or don't want to click it, don't use it at all, because it's here just for lightning exposure occasionally and maybe for additional shock at bosses. And let's go to the tree right now. So what we changed in the tree to make all of that possible? Right now in the tree, since we are using more supports and we can't have inspiration, we need more mana fixes. As a mana fix, I'm taking Mental Toughness for 3 points here. It's helping a lot with mana generation. Right now my mana for Storm Wave is around 113, and that's a pretty big number. But with Mental Toughness, Mana Flask and Conservative Casting, I think I will be able to cast just fine. If your mana is still an issue, you can replace Primal Armament with Inspiration, if it's the case, or you can add more mana nodes, so Mana Regeneration here and Mana Regeneration here are definitely good options. And moving forward, we are taking new cluster with Electrotherapy. I think that's just an absolutely amazing cluster that's going to guarantee electrocution at every enemy that we are hitting. So we are taking all those small nodes that are providing lightning damage and electrocute build up, and it's just amazing. And the last one gives us huge increased electrocute build up bonus and 5% for increased skill speed. I'm currently not taking electrocution here, even if I think it's a very good bonus, but it will require 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points, and I currently just don't have 5 points, even for 20% additional damage taken. I'm probably going to invest there later, so keep that in mind. If you have a lot of points, you can go there just fine. And moving forward, that's what we currently have. I think not a lot of changes in the tree are required, so you can just respect a few points here and there. I'm currently not taking Harmonic Generator and General Electric, because we just don't have that need of a shock anymore. We're shocking only bosses and big rares with our charge stuff, and it's working consistently. So currently that setup is the way. And if you feel like you need more defenses, you can still go for enhanced reflexes, for bestial skin. You can also take additional points here for immaterial, so look into those nodes. To gain those points, you can also go here for Icon Thunder. And another important question, what else we changed in the build is our Ascendancy. As you know before, we've been running Scatter Them to the Winds for elemental expression. However, after all changes with Electrocution, I don't think it's necessary. So I dropped those 2 points and invested them into I'm the Thunder instead. It gives us pretty cool bonuses, and that way we can feel significantly better in almost all cases, just because we are shocking more consistently and we have additional damage as extra lightning damage. It's just feeling nice right now, and I think it's working better than Scatter Them to the Winds and Elemental Expression at the current moment. So those are all changes in the tree. There's also a few recommendations about gear, and people usually ask me to showcase. So I'm using the new quarter staff for even more damage, plus 6 level 4 melee skills helping a lot, but it's raising my mana cost significantly. I also got the new gloves, and they're providing 2 level of melee skills together with lightning damage to attacks and some attack speed. Those are very good in my opinion and should help tremendously. The rest items stay the same, so at the amulet we're just aiming for the crit, getting level 4 melee skill gems will be nice, and at the rings I'm just getting as much resistances as possible and nothing new. I will probably replace some of them later. At the helmet we just need critical hit chance, some mana and life. Same goes for the boots, so life and resistances. And at the belt we're just aiming for resistances overall. As a body armor, I'm still using a hybrid body armor, evasion and energy shield. I wanted to experiment a little and try full evasion chest, but it's probably going to come up with the next updates. Right now I just have resistances and maximum life in there. So that's pretty much it and all the changes for now. I think it's working very good right now, and the build became significantly stronger after all changes. They also buffed our resistances, and in general we should feel very good about it. Thank you very much for watching and supporting, guys. Stay tuned for more updates, I'm sure there's more tech to test. And feel free to go to my Twitch if you still have some particular questions. Thank you very much for watching as usual, and ronarray out.